Guys, most men are born twice. Once by their mother, where they become a baby boy, and second time by choice, when they choose to become a man. Now listen, most men never make it to the second birth. They're stuck in being a baby boy in a man's body. Now this video is for those men who are done pretending, done being a baby boy, and who want to rise to become a man they can respect and admire. So let's go. In today's video, we're going to cover a few things. First of all, why divorce was born from identity collapse. And it's not a failure, it's a doorway. The second thing, we're going to look at the difference between being a boy and what are the symptoms of a boy in a man's body versus that of an initiated man. What does that look like? Third thing, we're going to look at how to rebuild from within, not by producing, not by performing, not by pretending, but by programming your body and your mind. Then we're going to go through emotional alchemy process, how to transform all the negative emotions, the rage, the guilt, the sadness, the shame, the blame, into drive, into fuel, and into productivity so that you can rise from the ashes of divorce. And lastly, I'll introduce you to the code by which initiated men live by. So let's fucking go. But before we go there, if you're still internally struggling and externally crumbling, if you're still being triggered by your ex, if your kids are pulling away from you, perhaps even being weaponized against you, if the word court is left, right, and center, or lawyers are keep charging you fees a few years after divorce, well, I created a co-parenting power shift guide. It's a guide where you're going to be introduced on how to shift the dynamic in your co-parenting relationship from toxic and conflictual to healthy and aligned. You can download it right now at dadsrise.com. You're welcome. So let's dive right into the subject. Let's take a look at what does it mean to be a boy in a man's body. What are the symptoms, so to speak? You know, when you go to a doctor, they're going to look at the different symptoms and then they're going to put a diagnosis. You have XYZ illness or you're perfectly healthy. Well, it's the same thing here. How do we know that you right now live as a boy inside of a man's body? Well, first of all, if you have trouble sleeping and if you cannot sleep without binge watching Netflix or scrolling on different social media sites or swiping on dating apps or perhaps consuming porn and jerking yourself off to not so happy ending perhaps, well, you are a boy in a man's clothes, in a man's body. If you have stopped exercising regularly and you're not taking care of your body and you look in the mirror and you don't recognize the man who's there, shapeless body, well, that's a symptom. If you eat all kinds of junk food and you're not actually taking care of what's going on inside in your body as fuel, that's another symptom. If internally you're trigger happy, every time your ex sends you a message, you just go into this death spiral and you waste energy, you drain energy for hours, sometimes for days, sometimes for weeks. That's a sign. If you're not able to be present for your kids without grabbing your phone and sedating and escaping from them, that's another sign. If in your business you're just repeatedly going on your email app and looking at them 47 times in a day instead of creating vision, creating structure, creating leadership and leading your team towards a brighter future, that's another sign. If you feel like you're this hamster on a wheel, that's another sign. And if you feel completely and utterly numb, stuck and disconnected from the divine, from your purpose, from your mission, you are most definitely a boy in a man's body. So if you are being a boy in a man's body, well, here are some of the consequences. One of them, you're living right now, you're divorced, you weren't able to maintain a family. But another one, your kids, you lose your kids emotionally, then spiritually, then physically. Eventually, when they grow up, they will not want to see you anymore. And guess what? Down the road, they're gonna blame the failure of your marriage on you, not on the mother. Women stop trusting you. Your future relationships are going to be stuck in the same patterns that your current relationships. And eventually, they're going to crumble. Or you're going to be stuck in a codependent relationship, which is subpar, where a woman comes and brings her luggage, puts it on your table and tells you, deal with it. When you yourself, you become a burden on everybody around you, your family, your kids, your ex, other people, where you're not a leader. Where you're looking in the mirror, you don't recognize who you are, and year by year, it just becomes worse. Where you're surrounded by distractions, excuses, addictions, and full disconnect, and when you die a slow death by disappointment. But I just want you to consider for a moment that this collapse, it's not a failure. It's a doorway. Because you're not broken, man. You're just uninitiated. You've never been given a map, you've never been given instruction and a guide who can train you, who can help you initiate yourself into becoming a man who's able to hold it all together. And not just hold it all together, but to thrive in this life. What you're missing right now and what life brought you to is for you to give birth to yourself, to step into the second birth, where you take full and complete ownership and responsibility for everything in your life, of your body, of your mind, of your emotions, of your business, of your relationships, of your health, and of your spiritual well-being. That's why you're probably watching this video. Life brought you here. It's not by accident. And I want you to consider that this might be the turning point, and it all starts with one thing, a simple decision. When you say, I had enough. And when you make that decision, when you say, I had enough, I want to become an initiated man who has a weaponized body, who's healthy and fit, who has both longevity and vitality to live long and a healthy lifestyle. I want to become a man who is in full ownership and full control of his emotions and mindset, where he feels everything without allowing the feelings to direct his actions. To become a man who has a vision for his life, who becomes a leader for himself, but also for those who have been given and entrusted into his custodianship, like his kids and the mothers to his kids. Who can lead a business towards a prosperous future, towards creation of value in society, in the community. And who is deeply connected with his own soul, with his purpose and his mission. When you make that decision, it's just the first step. Then you need to commit. Commit to change yourself, commit to create yourself, commit to creating that next version of you. But that will require from you understanding how your mind actually works. Because if you want to program a new identity in here, you need to understand how the computer actually runs. So let's go right in it. In order for you to understand how your mind works and how you actually get results in life, you need to understand the iceberg analogy. On the very top, what you see are the results that you have in life. Look at the results that you currently have in your body, in your being, in your business, in your balance, in your relationships. And I mean, this is probably something you've done in the previous video. If you have not done yet, the previous video is in the description. Watch it now. It's about getting real, about where you are and where you want to go. So those are the visible results. But beneath that, there is a sequence of events, often subconscious, often you're not even aware of how it all happens. Just beneath the results, you have the actions. The actions directly drive the results. And not just what you do, but how you do things and why you do things. How and why you don't do certain things as well. Then beneath the actions, what you have are emotions. Emotions create actions. Actions drive your results. Now, a lot of the people are going to say, well, what are you talking about, Gleb? I'm not emotional. I'm not acting on emotion. Well, I would want you to consider, how did you choose your wife? How did you choose the names for your kids? How did you choose your car? How did you choose your home? Sorry, she chose the home, right? But there was still a decision that you made to outsource that decision making to her. How did you choose your furniture? How do you choose what to have for breakfast? All of those things. Was there a thorough comparison that was being done of what's good for you right now and in the long term? Or was it just based on a feeling, on an emotion? So over 99% of your decisions are made based on emotion. But where do emotions come from? Well, emotions come from what you think and how you interpret life around you and life inside of you. Different events and memories or visions that are created by your mind are being interpreted. And that interpretation is what gives you the emotion. The same thing with external circumstances. Right now, you're divorced. But there are some people who are happily divorced who enjoy a healthy co-parenting relationship, just like myself. And they live a different life than you. So divorce is not a sentence. What is a sentence is how you interpret that divorce. That creates the feelings, that create the action that either perpetuate the results that you currently have or bring it to a new result. But beyond this interpretation, at the very core, at the very base, are your identity, which is composed of beliefs, mindsets, and standards. And those beliefs, mindsets, and standards were ingrained, installed in you, programmed in you from the very young age. From conception to the age of 6 was the biggest programming done. And the truth is, you don't even remember what has happened at that time. Some small words, some small gestures. Maybe in that time, you were not loved enough by your mother. Maybe you were not approved by your father. Maybe you were molested as a child. Maybe you were subject to physical or emotional or psychological violence by your parents or by society or by the uncle, by the cousin, by whomever else, a sibling. We don't know. In my case, it was my grandmother and my parents. But it doesn't define me. Because what happens is that this old programming is what created the boy. The boy who was still wounded, who was still hurt, who was still looking for this approval, who was looking to please and to plead. So right now I'm just going to illustrate with an example how this all works, just to make it crystal clear for you. So what you can see here is more or less a typical conversation, right, in between co-parents. So the man initiates, can I pick them up at 4 instead of 5? I just want a little more time with them before dinner. To which she responds, no, you're not seeing them this weekend. I mean, you probably had that happen to you when she just changes plans without any kind of explanation, just on a whim, so it seems, right? And so the man replies, you can't just take them away from me. This was planned and they were looking forward to it. So what he does, he starts explaining, right? He starts justifying. To which he tells them with an angry face, I told them the truth about what you did. And then you're here wondering, what the fuck was that? So you're right, this isn't right. You're using them to hurt me. What the fuck? And she goes, keep it up and I'll file for full custody. So let's walk through what's exactly happening here. And you need to understand that the thought process that's happening is subconscious. You're not even realizing it's all on automatic. It's like this plug and play. You just like press play and this automatic cycle runs again and again and again. So it all starts with the beliefs. And the belief here may be like, okay, she's erasing me. I'm disposable. And how you interpret the reality, her text, through that belief is that she's doing this on purpose. She wants to strip me from my kids. The emotions that you feel thereafter is rage, shame, and helplessness. And so the actions, you tend to jade. What does it mean? If you don't know what jade is, you need to watch my previous videos where I explain what that is. Jade is to justify, argue, defend, and explain or excuse. And so that's exactly what the man does here. The man could even send voice notes, send accusations, send threats, speak to a lawyer, initiate court procedures. All of those are actions created by the emotions based on the interpretation, based on the beliefs. And what do you have as a result? Communication collapse, zero safety, zero trust, more chaos, same cycle. That's where you're stuck. And you're stuck here because of you are being the boy inside of a man's body. So what I want you to understand here is that when you had this kind of exchange, and I'm pretty sure you had something similar, you need to understand that you're not reacting to her text. You're not reacting to her. She's not making you feel any of this. This text is not making you feel any of this and act this way. You are reacting to the identity under the surface. You are reacting to the interpretation you make of those events. You are reacting to your own beliefs about the relationships, about yourself, about life. That was programmed in you by very highly incompetent people in that sphere, in programming sphere, by default. Probably because they were programmed this way as well. Now listen, I shared this example on purpose. I think we all have witnessed that when we face toxic or conflictual co-parenting with our ex, right? We had some sort of a situation like this. I had plenty. I just want to give you a little bit of my story. Some time ago, I was hosting psychedelic retreats. Not because it was fun and like it's debauchery, no. I was highly involved in psychedelic assisted therapy because I was traumatized myself as a child, and psychedelic assisted therapy helped me in some of the ways. And so I wanted to spread that to other people and to help other people heal from their deep traumas, from childhood traumas. And so I was involved in that, and as you can imagine, I was marketing that. Well, both mothers to my kids felt like it was dangerous for them to have their kids around a guy who's dealing with drugs. Literally, that's how they're categorized pretty much in all societies, drugs. To me, it's plant therapy, plant medicine, but for them, it's drugs. And so what they did, they called Child Protective Services and initiated a police investigation. I was stripped from seeing my kids for a period of 2 months. And those women, they don't really like each other. They couldn't smell each other. But here they got together and they did this. And to me, I was so blind. I was oblivious to the fact that maybe there is a lack of safety. Maybe there is a safety concern. Maybe they're worried about their kids and they just want to kind of communicate with me in this way. I was thinking, oh my God, they want to strip me from custody. They only want money. They want my blood. They hate my guts and they want revenge. That's what I was thinking. So it's only when I understood the situation from their position, when I rewired my own brain, when I saw a different possibility of an interpretation here, only then was I able to actually step into power and rebuild a better relationship with them. Needless to say, I'm not involved in psychedelic assisted therapy, not because I don't want to help guys heal from trauma. I do, and that's why I'm doing this program. That's why I'm posting those videos. That's why I have my own coaching program to help you guys deal with that. I do, but I do it in a different way. So I didn't sacrifice my mission and my purpose, but I also listened to the mothers to my kids. And so now I enjoy peace, healthy, aligned co-parenting. I enjoy a beautiful relationship with my kids, a thriving business, and a life on purpose. And of course, I'm in a great shape. That being said, let's take a look at what is this process that I used with myself in my own situation and I teach men to do as well. Well, I call it emotional alchemy. And I'm going to put it this way. Imagine that you have all of those different emotions, challenging emotions, regardless which way they're brought up, right? By interpretations, by belief system, but you have those emotions. And usually they are anger, irritation, frustration, guilt, shame, rage, blame. Those are like the main ones that you experience on a day-to-day basis, whether you're aware of them or you're not aware of them. Well, all of those emotions are like dirt oil. You know, when you dig for oil, you find this stinky black substance, right? Well, that's what they are. But the truth is, this is your fuel if you can refine it. So the emotional alchemy process is digging all of this oil out of yourself, and you have plenty, and the more you have, the more potential fuel you have to drive you to rise towards accomplishment of whatever you want in your life. The most powerful men, the most powerful people are not those who don't experience those emotions. It's those who experience those emotions and who have a process to transform all of this power, untapped power, into fuel, consumable fuel. Okay? How is the process working? I teach that in my groups. I touch on it in the guide. If you want, download it right now, the Co-Parenting Power Shift Guide. Download it at dadsrise.com. But let me venture into that. It's a 5-step process. First, you need to get real. And my previous video was about that. Take a look at what is your reality right now in any particular field. Second of all, it's to get raw. Connect with your emotions. What do you feel about all of this? The third step is to decode the story. What is this belief? What is the story I'm telling myself about this situation? So you see how we take the result, the iceberg, and then we go deeper down. And then what you need to do, you need to reframe that story, reinterpret that story, and receive a new belief. And once you do that, you will see that your emotions shift and you're creating a different kind of action. And when you do that different kind of action from that new belief, this is how you reprogram your brain to operate differently. And as I said, this is literally the process most powerful men use in order to get from a stuck situation to freedom, and you can use as well. So if you're still stuck in a loop, go to dadsrise.com right now and download your Power Shift Guide. It's not a fucking bonus. It's a blueprint. It's a requirement for any divorced dad. Do it. Don't wait. And lastly, what I want to touch upon is the code by which divorced men need to live by. So what is that code? It has 5 components. Stop lying. Tell the truth. Own your emotions. Reclaim your story. And execute relentlessly. When you do that, coupled with the emotional alchemy process, you become a power of a man. You literally reprogram yourself. Because here's a piece of truth for you. Truth, when spoken in a sea of liars, is a revolution. You need to be that revolution for yourself, for your kids, and for your family. So be it now. So look, in this chapter, we really covered your identity and how to become a different man. What does it mean to be a boy in a man's body? And what does it mean to be an initiated man? So in the next chapter, we're going to look at how to make this identity and transformation automatic and consistent. And until then, do the work, keep rising, take care.